What is the dumbest reason you have ever gotten in trouble at school? I got suspended for looking at poolstar.com. Concert to a website. Librarian was absolutely convinced, even after I showed her, that I was looking at pornstar.com. 1 week in a school suspension, which I loved because I could just sleep all day. Being sent to the vice principal for refusing to roller skate. The skates were the old-fashioned metal kind that you slipped on your tennis shoes. The ball bearings came out of one wheel and the skate didn't work. She was furious. The teacher's reputation preceded her and the vice principal just had me sit outside his office until the class ended. So you know how on computers you can inspect the element and change the look of websites, but it only shows on your computer. I did this on an educational game and bragged that I was better than everyone. Got written up and sent to the office for hacking. The library insisted I stole a Dr. Seuss book and couldn't prove I did it. They kept trying to convince me I did it, and I wouldn't give in. Like they'd literally sit me down and say, just admit you did it. That's it. You won't have to pay the fee if you just admit it. They eventually gave up and the principal said, just so you know, I'm paying this $12 out of my own pocket. I'm disappointed that you won't own up to what you did. I've been suspended from a private school because one of the teachers lied to my parents and told them I stole a book. You could see it hanging off of her supply closet in the classroom. So the principal took away my recess privileges and made me do work inside instead of recess. Couple weeks later and I was out of there. Had a bad allergic reaction to the wooden pencils. Asked to go to the nurse. Got yelled at in front of the entire class for not having the allergy declared to the school. I do. It's listed as nature allergies. She says if I was actually allergic then pencils would be banned from the school. Meanwhile I'm sitting there with a swollen throat and beet red eyes. We were learning about ancient China and had been watching a documentary on the Chinese emperors. The documentary got to a scene with the terracotta warriors and my teacher asked the class if we knew what they were. I said yes. They are the terracotta warriors and my teacher yelled at me, telling me how I had ruined the film for my class. Not a fun time. Unless this film was different from every other film ever shown in school, it was ruined by the director, the writer, and the narrator long before you ever saw it. Wasn't me, but I vividly remember when a friend got in trouble after saying literally present during roll call. Everyone said here one after another and he said present and was promptly kicked out of class for being a smartass. I think that teacher was having a bad day. I was in charge of our class display board, so I drew one boy and one girl flanking the board. Just two kids standing a meter apart, fully clothed in a school uniform, not even looking or gesturing at each other. I was accused of encouraging improper heterosexual relationships among students and ordered to take it down. Homosexual relationships only. This wasn't me, but friend of mine in middle school popped open a bag of Doritos in the cafeteria and a teacher said it sounded like a gunshot. He was suspended for a week. Somebody actually popped a bag during lunch at my school. It was loud as frick. My teacher was pregnant. Her baby kicked. Scared the heck out of her, but the student was told to not pop bags again. Middle of winter. I put my coat under my desk before class started. Teacher insists that the coat I'm not even wearing is out of dress code despite it being one of the school approved colors. He demands I give him my coat until the end of the day. I tell him no because I don't think he'll actually give it back, plus I have to walk outside to get to other classes. He sends me to the principal's office. I tell the secretary what happened. She rolls her eyes and writes me a pass back to class. The fact that your school bans certain colored jackets is complete horseshit in and of itself. Coughing. I was getting over pneumonia at the time and was sent to the office for causing a distraction. If you're reading this, Ms. Greb, frick you. Not one single child liked you. Yeah, frick you, Ms. Greb. I dodged a punch someone threw at me. They hit concrete and broke their wrist badly. I nearly got suspended and expelled. The other guy did it to impress this girl. The girl didn't like my face. In all honesty, I have a pretty unlikable face. I was drawing Jesus in grade 1 and made his hands and feet huge so I could fit all his fingers and toes in. Mrs. Bruggeman sent me to the office. I think because she thought I was making fun of Jesus or something. She was a B and I hated her. Probably had something to do with that. Got sucker punched and suspended for fighting. I never punched back. Zero tolerance is such a BS policy. I had a substitute teacher in Spanish. We had a test that day. Our teacher left a note for the sub saying we could play games and crap when we were done with the test. So I finish the test, pull out my computer, and start playing some dumb app I can't remember. Everyone else is also playing games and surfing the web. The teacher goes up to me, freaking slams my computer lid down on my hand, screams at me to get off my computer, and walks away, ignoring everyone else doing the same crap. Then she stops and says, "Wait, are you guys allowed to play games?" Everyone says yes, and she looks at me with a so crap look in her eye. Subs are so conditioned to believe they are being openly disrespected. I can totally see her thinking this little crap thinks he can just goof off because I'm a sub. I'll show him what's what. A classmate would not stop talking at me during class and it was really annoying because I was trying to learn, and I got a detention for telling her to stop talking to me. The students next to me were talking before class started, when we were supposed to be doing warm-ups. I looked up at the board from my assignment and was told to stop talking, without having uttered a word. College. My school had a dumb black and white 3 absences you fail policy in an attempt to appear tough. Missed one class. Ended up failing because I couldn't make the last 2 because of my grandfather's funeral. Even turned in the work needed. Still peed about that to this day. Having recently watched Madagascar, wondered what was crackalackin with my principal. My principal was even chill about it. It was my ugly 4th grade teacher who got mad. I hadn't lost any baby teeth when I was in 1st grade, so I didn't answer a question on a worksheet that asked when my first baby tooth was lost. I explained it to her and she said it was weird and held me in from recess. She pretty much made random excuses to hold me in from recess every day until I switched schools halfway through the year. She was the worst. Did you go back to make her look at these pearls? My dad died and I was severely depressed. We moved to a new town and school and I carried around a poetry book to constantly doodle or write in to keep my mind from dragging me places. Second week of school and the bell hasn't rung yet and everyone's seated talking or eating. Against rules in homeroom. Teacher walks in, immediately swipes it off my desk and says without argument I will not be getting it back. As a book kid started writing with my dad and continued to write in the last 6 months it was very full and had all my poems my dad wrote too. I was devastated. I waited until the class was over and I approached her desk, nearly crying, and said that book is impossibly important to me. I never have it out after class starts and straight up said it's how I handle my grief. She looked me dead in the eye and said life moves on and if you wanted to keep your diary you should not have brought it to school. I walked out of class, called my mom and she came in, bastardized her in front of the principal for picking on an own grieving teenager, and demanded my book back. The teacher refused to have me in her class and I actually switched to a smaller, quieter school that catered to students who couldn't always come to class in regular hours. The new school was awesome. You signed a mock contract stating you take your education seriously and will make time to be there, and then you make your own hours. The school was open from 6 AM to 9 PM and had 3 teachers and everything was done online. There was maybe 60 students in total, and only ever maybe 4-10 in a classroom and the teachers made pancakes and bacon and eggs every day and had sandwiches and granola bars and stuff out for lunches. There was a coffee station in every class and they had holiday dinners. Best part, there was a pet board. So if you wanted to bring your cat or dogs to school you scheduled them as study buddies so the days you had marked no one else brought their pet. We always had dogs and cats in class. That school at the end sounds awesome. Someone threw one of those big mistake erasers at me, hit me in the face. I exclaimed pain and got yelled at by the teacher. She never liked me though. I tried to teach myself to code, got accused of computer hacking. I froze up when they asked me what I did, just kept saying I didn't know. Got suspended for 5 days. They wiped the internet blocks after for some unknown reason so the whole school thought I actually did hack in and unblock YouTube and the like. 7th grade was weird. Probably proof you did crap. I opened my binder and it made a loud slap noise. My substitute teacher got in my face screaming that I was distracting her class and made me sit outside. Middle school was tough. That's when you reach out mid-rant and stick your finger up her nose. I got in school suspended for saying I took a poop in grade 2. I asked to go to the bathroom. I went to the dang bathroom. Teach got on my case for taking a long time and kept asking what I was doing in the bathroom. I kept saying I was going to the bathroom. I finally did what any annoyed kid would do and said I took a poop. Well, that was a boring day the next day. So at my elementary school, they would always write the homework due the next day on the chalkboard and it would be left there the whole day. I was someone who usually finished class activities pretty quickly, so I would always start the homework whenever I had finished class walk early and had nothing else to do. And anytime I was caught, I'd get yelled at for it. One time I was threatened with detention for it. I still don't get it to this day. I never did the homework while the teacher was talking. I never copied someone else's homework. I wasn't disturbing the class in any way. What was the issue? Because you weren't going with the flow of class and you made people who weren't done yet feel bad. I didn't want to be friends with another kid. In 5th grade, the teacher kept calling on me to read out loud because I was the fastest in the class. I hated being the center of attention in any way. I was really shy at that point and most of the other kids made fun of me at one point or another. Another kid would read a couple sentences. She would call me to read a paragraph. She was trying to get through a whole chapter of a textbook or something, and eventually I just said number. She sent me to the office. They told me to just hang out there until the classes switched. The office people are so chill usually. I like them. There was a strict no talking rule for an important quiz. Somebody came up to me briefly to ask me a relevant question. They were slightly late, about the assigned seats. I whispered a short response. I got detention. This happened to me too, except my response to being talked to was it worked out okay though. I hit that teacher in the face with a soaking wet sponge at the Halloween carnival. One time I logged into the school's library computer to check out a book after hours. I was a library volunteer. I didn't do anything but check the book out with the library system. They called me to the office the next day and suspended my computer privileges for 3 months. Word traveled quickly. Yes, teachers actually asked about it. Teachers I didn't even have, and my least favorite teacher decided to assign a big computer-based project that we would work on in class for several weeks. Frick middle school. What was the reason? Was playing tennis, served the ball. Ball hit opponent in the knee lightly after bouncing. Him, screaming in pain my eye. Me, it hit your leg. Coach, go run laps for the rest of day. I'll always remember that sucker tone. Frick that, just run off the property at that point. Kindergarten. Teacher told us some project we were going to do. Then she said, doesn't that sound like fun? I shook my head no. She made me sit at the desk where anyone in trouble had to sit. It was the first time I ever got in trouble at school. I was breathing. Teacher said my breathing was sarcastic and sent me out of the room. Inhaled sarcastically. 5th grade teacher made fun of me in front of the class for being a drama queen. Yelled at me when I ran out of the room crying, and then tried to give me a detention. I was being a drama queen because the teacher had actively prevented me from managing a blood sugar condition. My blood sugar had crashed, and I was no longer capable of calmly asking to call my mom. That teacher needed to be fired. French teacher insulted me by saying you played the piano well, but I think the country singer was better and should have won the talent show, not you. Later in the week we had to write a page on why we enjoyed her class. I wrote out how much I loved being able to chat with friends because her hearing and eyesight were so bad. She couldn't tell anything was going on half the time. She gave me a few days of detention and was ultimately instructed to apologize to her by the school's disciplinarian. When I didn't express the reasoning behind my rant, peed off that I was insulted in front of the entire class, she wanted to hug it out. No thanks. I said I was Romanian. I am. On my mother's side, she's white. My bio dad is black. Got into a huge argument with a teacher over it. She said that I couldn't possibly be Romanian and to stop lying. My kids have the same problem. As if it's any of your teachers' goddamn business where your family hails from. A teacher's pet ratted me out for leaving the class. I was sick and went to the nurse's office without the teacher's consent. Consent she couldn't give because she left the class unsupervised to cheat on her husband in her office. Playing Dungeons and Dragons during recess. Another kid told a teacher we were practicing witchcraft. Yay the Midwest. We had to hide our dice. We only played during recess or lunch, but if they saw our RPG dice, they were likely to be confiscated. Not the Midwest, Florida. Writing my notes in my journal too small. Apparently if the teacher can't read it I must not actually be doing any work. Also got in trouble for talking too loud in an above grade level math class. I had just gotten transferred in and didn't know anyone, therefore I had no one to talk to. Drawing on worksheet equals loud noises. For dancing in my seat, all that I did was stretch. To be fair, the teacher was strict and had the best roast of that year. If you wanna dance, dance your way over to that desk and grab a detention slip and fill it out. We were doing breathing exercises in band and after we were finished I had to yawn. Director looks at me with angry face, so you think you're a comedian? A sends me to the principal's office. I've also been accused of this. Kids shouldn't have to get up at 6 AM every day for school and have teachers expect them not to be tired. I said freaking one time when I was in kindergarten, and the teacher called my mom and said that I was swearing in class. I was a goth girl in high school, and Columbine happened at the end of my senior year. There was about 5 weeks of school left at that point. I had worn dog collars or dog choke chains daily for 3 years, and then all of a sudden the school cracked down hard on us weirdos outcasts. I was told to not wear the collars or choke chains anymore, but I thought, frick this, and wore them anyway. I was told several times to stop and threatened with detention or a suspension, but I had a hardcore case of senioritis and I didn't give a frick. I was a good student otherwise and I had a hunch they wouldn't follow through, so I called their bluff. I was correct and they eventually left me alone. This seems like the exact opposite kind of thing they should have been doing to these kids. I went to a Catholic school. My tights were too blue. Blue was okay per the handbook, but I got a lunch detention for wearing the wrong shade. After lunch every day, 2 people in my year level were assigned to go around, collect all of the outdoor bins, and lock them away in the bin enclosure. Well, my friend thought it would be funny to lock me inside as I was putting the last bin away and go back to class. They tried to come back almost right away, but the teacher wouldn't let them. I was found by the teacher an hour later when school let out, and she let me out and told me I had detention for skipping class. Fun. Yeah, you locked yourself in. Perfect logic on the teacher's part. Late 90s, wearing a Die Sorta punk rock t-shirt that said "Bite Me." Teacher gets all riled up about it and tells me to go home and come back with something more appropriate. But go home. Came back wearing a plain white shirt with the words "not offensive" written across it in Sharpie. Ugh, the cringe. You have been visited by the Doggo Beer Master. Comment delicious, so you always have beer in your life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.